Okay, we are going to get started right on time. This is being recorded, so we will also send it out to everyone. Welcome. This is the CET Academic Programs webinar about the Czech visa, and a lot of information will be shared here today with you. You can use the chat feature to ask any questions. I'll post in there in a minute so you know where it is. All right, let's move to the next one. Okay, so quick intros. My name is Emily. I'm the Assistant Director of Europe Programs. You most likely have not heard from me since I manage the operations of the Prague programs behind the scenes with Celine, who you do know, Celine.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name's Celine. I'm your student services coordinator. You've gotten lots of emails from me about the visa process, and we're glad you could join us this afternoon to learn more about how to submit.
All right, so we are going to look at the visa process overall. We're going to talk about timelines, and we're going to be repeating several deadlines over and over again, so you are really clear on what those are. We'll talk about the application steps and then what's next. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of the, can you go to the visa? Yeah, to the visa overview. This is super important. Hopefully all of you are more than aware that everyone needs a visa to study at CET in Prague. The only exception is if you are an EU citizen with a valid EU passport. Everybody else, US citizens, other international citizens must apply for a visa. A visa is this right there on the picture. It's a paper that is stuck into your passport, and that gives you authorization to live and study in Prague for the program dates. There are many different visas that you could get by the Czech government. So please make sure you understand that you are looking for the long-term visa for the purpose of study. In short, that is a student visa. We are not applying for a short-term visa or a Schengen visa or a business visa or a research visa. You have to apply for a long-term visa for the purpose of study, aka a student visa. We have a very comprehensive visa instruction packet in your online account. Please use this. 99% of your questions will be answered in that packet. On the flip side, CET does not grant visas. We are not the Czech government. We do not grant the visas. The Czech government does. And they have been known to change their requirements and their information whenever they want. So again, consult the CET visa packet and the Czech consulate website for any of your questions, as well as emailing with Celine to keep in touch. You must start working on your visa materials now. It is not too early. There are many things that you can work on now, and then there are additional documents that we will send you. Please follow the deadlines. This is critically important. Every semester, we have students who wait or who apply late or who have some sort of issue. The Czech government is very strict. The timeline is quite short and the processing is quite long, meaning it can take up to 60 days for them to process a visa. So everything has to be perfectly organized and correct when you submit your visa, or you will have to start all over again and you will be late for the program. Again, I want to be clear that you will not be able to start the CET program, attend orientation, take your classes, and move into your housing until you have a visa in your passport. We cannot make any exceptions. We cannot allow you to come to the program as a tourist, even if the Czech consulate may say so. You must have a visa to start the program. Okay, here we are with the first set of very important deadlines. For US citizens, your visa application must be submitted before May 28th. What does that mean? That means that your visa application with all of the different documents has to be complete and correct and at the consulate, meaning it must have arrived at the consulate before preferably May 28th. Why? That is because if you send it, let's say, on May 28th, it arrives the next day or the day afterwards, they review your packet, there's a couple of incorrect documents, they will reach out, you will have to update this document, send it back. Your application will not be considered correct and complete until they receive everything again, and only then will the clock start ticking for the 60-day processing. This is really important because if you don't have everything at that time, your application is not considered complete and the processing time will take longer. So again, before May 28th, please make sure your application is complete and received at the Czech consulate. If you are not a US citizen nor a EU applicant, aka an international student, you cannot send your application. You have to appear in person at the consulate with an appointment before May 25th. So again, it's the same idea. The main difference is you have to appear in person before May 25th. And US citizens, you can send in your application by the mail, by the post office before May 28th. May 28th, May 25th. Please remember these deadlines. Next slide.
All right, so talking a little bit about the actual documents you need for your visa application, one of the most important pieces is your passport. So for your visa application, you must have a valid signed passport with an expiration date more than 6 months after the last day of the program. For everyone on the call, we've either already spoken on strategies on renewing your passport or you've given us a scan of the passport you already have. So if for whatever reason the passport you have right now has been damaged, it was lost, contact us immediately. That means we'll need to create new visa documents for you, and we'll also need to strategize how to get you a new passport as soon as possible. This is a screenshot of the visa packet that Emily was referring to at the beginning of the presentation. We have visa packets for both US citizens and non-US or non-EU citizens. If you have trouble finding that and finding that hyperlink in your CET Compass account, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. This packet will answer a good bit of your questions, but if you have more, always connect with me and always be sure to look at your consulate website for the best resource regarding visa application requirements. As Emily said, they can change things on a dime and not in tandem. The example that we always use is that in spring of 25, the Chicago consulate changed the way that they want the visa application form presented, that if students mailed it in, they had to get that last page notarized, and they were the only consulate that changed that, and they changed that in the middle of the cycle. So all that to say, maybe bookmark your consulate website on your browser so you always have a quick link to it, and check that website often as you're completing your application. Here is another look at the timeline. On the right here, you'll see you're responsible for gathering your documents now. We're sending the physical documents to you this week, and you should have gotten an email from us that the digital documents, which I'll outline again on later slides, have been uploaded to your CET account. If you didn't get that email, or if you're having trouble seeing any of those digital documents, send me an email and I'll reply to it after the meeting. But you'll see those, you should see those digital documents today. And in regard to the timeline, that 60-day processing time is the standard amount that consulates list, but there is a possibility for it to take longer. A specific note for Chicago or LA consulates, if you're applying there, both of those consulates have been known to have delays in past terms, so all the more reason to apply early and make sure you have everything together soon after you receive documents from us this week or early next week. And as Emily said, the application is only considered complete and that 60 days starts once everything is received by the consulate completely and correctly. The visa application is going to be a mix of materials that you collect on your own and materials that CET will give you. So along with your passport, you're going to be including photocopies of this passport style photos, a notarized criminal history affidavit, a notarized proof of sufficient funds, a completed visa application form, a fee, and then a prepaid envelope if you want your passport mailed back to you at the end of processing. There are some extra documents non-US and non-EU students have to give for their application, and that will include an FBI background check, an apostille of that background check, a home country background check, and then an apostille or superlegalization of the home background check. and all 4 of these items will need to have Czech translations. It does take a little bit to get all of these documents together. We have some information on how to get started in the non-US, non-EU student visa guide. But if you haven't spoken with me already and you haven't gotten started on this, please send me an email as soon as possible so we can talk about next steps to get all of that together. In terms of the materials CET is going to give you, we are going to be giving you a proof of accommodation, enrollment, a cover letter that will specify the Prague address you'll use on number 6, that completed visa application form. And we will also be mailing you an extra proof of accommodation letter from a Czech landlord, just basically saying in Czech that you are authorized to live in the apartments. So that may not be on the consulate checklist, but we recommend including that in the visa application anyway, just because it's an extra proof of accommodation. And we have uploaded proof of international and Czech insurance on your CET Compass account. You should find that in the file section of your profile. We've uploaded 2 files for international insurance, a Czech and English version, and then we've also uploaded a proof of Czech insurance. Print out all 3 of those documents and include them in your visa application. So step 1, you're going to find your consulate. For US citizens, you will be applying to the consulate according to your home address. For non-US/non-EU citizens, you are going to be applying to the consulate according to your university address. We have this chart in both our US and non-US, non-EU citizen visa guides, and we have all of the consulates and all of the states that they serve. And in this chart, we have a hyperlink to each consulate student visa page. So again, if you're having trouble navigating to there, you can check our guide for a hyperlink for all of the sites. If you are still having trouble, again, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to send you a link. Another reminder, please be sure to check your consulate's website regularly for any updates on how they want information presented. So along with your actual passport, you're going to be including 2 photocopies of your passport. And this needs to be on 8.5 by 11 paper. So that's just regular printer paper you may be able to find at your university library, or if your family has a printer at your printer at home. And you'll print this out. It doesn't have to take up the whole page, but it'll just be on 8.5 by 11 paper, not the glossy paper. Your passport style photos, on the other hand, will need to be on that glossy photo paper. CVS or Walgreens are good places to start to take those photos. They usually have sections in their stores. And the consulate should have examples and proportions for how they want you to look in the picture and what size they want the pictures to be. Usually, in terms of presentation, you'll be against a white background with a neutral expression and nothing covering your face. But again, they'll have example pictures as well as different sizing requirements. For US citizens, 8 out of 10 of you on the call probably are just going to include this notarized criminal history affidavit. If you've lived in another country besides the United States for 6 months or longer in the previous 3 years, so between 2023 and 2026, you may need a background check from that country as well if you're a US citizen. But if this doesn't apply to you and you're a US citizen, this is all you're going to need to present in your visa application. This is a file that you can find on your consulate website. There should be a hyperlink that you'll click on, download it, print it, and fill it out. And we will talk a little bit about how to get this notarized in the next slide. And as a reminder again, for non-US and non-EU applicants, you won't be using this one, but you're going to be including FBI and home country background checks with their respective apostles. All right, but for the students on here that are just sending in this notarized criminal history affidavit, notarization is maybe something you've never done before. A notary is someone who's authorized to verify that information on a document is correct. And how this works is you will fill out everything except where you sign and date this document. You'll go to a notary, you'll bring an ID, driver's license, passport. They'll check and verify you are who you say you are, and then they'll put a little stamp or add an extra page to complete the notarization process. You can find notaries in a lot of different places. Your university, before you leave, may be a good place to start. Your registrar's or president's office may have notaries on staff. Your study abroad office may have a notary as well. Banks, UPS or FedEx sometimes have notary services, and you may also be able to find a notary online. So there are some places to look, but again, if you're having trouble, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to brainstorm with you. As you can see here, there are two places where you're gonna write dates. You're gonna write your birth date and the date you sign the document. Be sure to put both of those dates in date, month, year format. That's essentially just how they write dates in the EU. All right, so notarized proof of sufficient funds. This is a certain amount of money that the Czech Republic wants to see that you have to support yourself abroad. That required minimum is usually somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000. Like lots of things, the Czech consulates vary on the exact minimum. It can vary by a couple of $100s. So be sure to check your consulate website for the exact minimum of where you're going to be applying to. We really want students to start this one early because number one, $3,000 to $5,000 is not a small amount of money, so it may take some time to figure out how to present that. And a lot of banks only issue bank statements once a month. And as you'll see in the next slides, a lot of the options require you present a statement. So it's important to plan with your families to make sure you have enough money in your account by the time the next statement is presented. All right, so there are a few options to present this. Option one, and our recommended option, is presenting a bank account statement and a card scan. So the first thing you'll need to do is check if a checkings or savings account is okay, and they should clarify on the consulate website. Some accept both checkings and savings, others only accept checking, so double check that. Once you've verified, a bank statement must show your full name, the name of the bank, whatever minimum balance the consulate requires. It'll need to be in your account by the time of the statement. The account information will be blacked out, for example, up here. This should also be notarized, and then no screenshots, unfortunately. So you can't log into CapitalOne.com and print out what you see. It will need to be a official PDF that the banks give you on your bank account or one of the printed copies that they may mail to you every month. With this, you'll also include a notarized card scan. This will be of a card that links to the banking account, show your full name, the bank names will match, and this card should be valid for the entire program. So valid until at least December 2026. If you're unable to present this information with your own account, you can use a family member's account statement, a card scan, and a financial support letter with a translation. The banking account will have similar requirements as option one. It'll be an official statement. It'll have the minimum balance. The account information will likely need to be blacked out, except it'll have your family member's name on the statement instead of yours. The notarized card scan, however, it will show a card that has your full name and not the family member's name, but it will link to that family member's account. In past terms, this has been a pain point with this one because it's not super common for students to have that sort of financial access to a family member's account. So if you're using option two and you're not sure if what you want to present is exactly aligned based on what the consulate lists on their site, send them an email with what you want to present to verify. Sometimes there are gray areas on what you can present with this option, but you need to double check with the consulate just to make sure what you're doing is okay if it doesn't exactly align with what they have. You also may need to include a notarized letter of financial support. This letter isn't super long, 1 to 2 sentences confirming that they're supporting you for the entire program. It'll be signed by your family member. This will need to be translated into Czech. In both of our guides, we have some ways to get started on Czech translation, some links in the FAQ section. If you're having trouble finding that or finding a translator in general, be sure to reach out to me and I'd be happy to send you some links. Both this letter and the translation must be notarized. Before we move on to option number 3, one more note on this notarized letter of financial support. If you're using this option, be sure to check your website, the consulate website, on if a declaration of financial liability form is there. I'll blow it up a little bit so you guys can see a little clearer. As you can see, there is English and Czech on this. So if this is on their website, you can fill this out with your family member, get it signed and notarized, and then you can include this as a substitute for a translated letter, and you won't need to get anything translated independently. If you're having trouble figuring out if this form is on your consulate website, reach out to me and I'd be happy to double check with you. If you're unable to use options 1 and 2, you can use a letter from your bank with a translation and a card scan. The letter from your bank has to include your full name, the bank's name, the minimum consulate balance, and confirm you can use that money while you're in Prague. This letter will be notarized and have a notarized translation, and then you'll also include a card scan that will be notarized, and it will be of a scan of a card that links to your account, the bank names will match, and it will be valid until at least December 2026. If you're unable to use options 1 through 3, you can use a letter from financial aid. We don't recommend this one because sometimes consulates ask for a banking account statement anyway. But if you really are unable to use the first 3, this notarized letter will state the amount of aid you have, state that you can use it abroad. This will be translated into Czech as well. If you're using this option, be sure to work closely with your financial aid office as well as your Czech consulate, just to make sure everyone's on the same page as to what language needs to be used in this letter. Some consulates can vary on the exact wording they want in the letter, so be sure to reach out to them to make sure what your financial aid office prints out is what they will accept. You will also include a Czech visa application form that looks like this towards the right. This is a file that you can download on the consulate page. You'll click on the hyperlink, like the affidavit, download it and print it. And check out our guide and the consulate website for tips. Sometimes they'll have a sample, and that sample can have more up-to-date information on how they want things presented. So if they provide a sample, be sure to look at that as well as CET's guide. And if there are any differences, follow their sample over what we have in CET's packet. Some consulates are also requiring that you include a scan of your state ID just to verify that you are applying to the right jurisdiction. They should specify on the consulate website on if this is needed. Not all consulates are doing this, so double check. And again, if you're having trouble verifying if it's on their website, let me know. All right, so you have all of your documents together. Now you're going to think about paying the fee. The fee changes month to month due to the exchange rate. So check your consulate for the amount before you submit. The amount is usually somewhere between 100 to 110 USD. The consulates will also give a variety of ways to pay. Sometimes they give cash, money order, online payment. If they give you the option, we recommend paying in either cash or money order because paying upfront in that way can kind of limit all of the back and forth that goes into you sending the application, them verifying that all the information in it is correct, them sending you a link to pay, you paying, and the 60 days in that processing time doesn't start until all of that back and forth is finished and they have the payment. If you check on your consulate website and the only option they give you is online payment, again, all the more reason to number 1, apply early, and number 2, be sure to check your email inbox as well as your spam inbox constantly to make sure you receive that email from them to pay as soon as possible, and you can start the processing as soon as you're able. All right, so for US citizens, when everything is together, you're going to think about mailing your visa application. So this is going to be materials that you prepare and the materials that CET gives you, and then you're going to make copies of everything. So you're going to be mailing 2 sets of your visa application, 1 set of the original documents, and then 1 set of its clone, essentially, 1 set of the copies. And if you want your passport mailed back to you, you'll need to include a prepaid envelope with the finished application. A lot of the consulates request USPS envelopes. Some allow FedEx or UPS. They will specify on their website what's acceptable, so double check before you include that. All right, so with all of the different documents and copies, it can get a little bit confusing, so we do have this visual. So this is all of the original documents for your visa application, everything you've gotten notarized, everything you've signed, everything you've wrote on, every original document you've gotten from us. That is one set. You're going to make black and white copies of everything. So you'll have two complete sets of your visa application. If you want your passport mailed back to you at the end, you're going to include a prepaid envelope. Those three things, you're going to put them in whatever envelope or package can fit all three. You will mail it over to the consulate. At the end of the process, they're going to take that envelope you sent them in the beginning, put your passport that has the visa inside, and then mail it back to you. If you live close to the consulate you're applying to, you may also be able to drop off your visa application and pick up your passport at the end of processing. This can really depend by consulates, but students have done this before. The New York consulate, for example, they may have drop-off time. So check the New York consulate website, or if you're not applying there, any website to see if they have that listed. If they don't, send them an email to see if this is possible and coordinate when they'd be able to open their doors and accept your packet. But again, students have done this before if they live close to the consulate. If you are a non-US or non-EU citizen, you will make a visa appointment, but you're still going to be bringing two sets of your visa application to the appointment. So the original documents of things you've prepared and things CET gave you, and copies of everything. And each consulate should have an email on their site that lists where you'll be able to make an appointment. So email them as soon as you're able, because sometimes appointments can be varied in how long from when you request they're actually able to see you. So send them an email now to get started on that process. That was an overview of everything you need to prepare and include for the visa application. We know this is a very document-heavy, bureaucratic, sometimes complicated process. So if you're wondering what to really look at next, the priority document for everyone is going to be that proof of sufficient funds. So if you haven't already, plan with your families, call your banks this week to see when the next statement is being released for your bank if you're using that. Plan with your families on how you're able to present that information. And then some quicker items you may be able to get started on for our US citizens on the call, that criminal history affidavit. Your study abroad office may know some notaries on campus, so you may be able to get that done before you leave and just bring it with you when you go home. Passport style photos, this is for everybody, CVS or Walgreens, and then passport photocopies. You can get done at your library printer if your passport's with you at school, or at your family printer, or at a local library near your home if your passport's at home. If you haven't already, please put your mailing address for supporting documents in your visa portal. That basically is what is going to allow us to send your visa documents to you. So please submit that, and then be proactive in touching base with us. Again, this is a very, very bureaucratic, document-heavy process. So as you submit and as you have questions before you submit, please don't hesitate to reach out, schedule a meeting, send me an email, all that stuff. All right, Emily, it doesn't look like we have any questions.
Nope, no questions. So we will close the webinar now. We have one question, but we'll close the webinar. You can also email Celine, of course. The question is, for the criminal background history, do we put the place as the university or the consulate that we are using?
So for place, you're gonna put wherever you sign it. So if you're doing the criminal history affidavit on campus, George, you will put Elon, North Carolina. But if you're doing it at home, you'll put wherever you whatever city and state where you live.
All right, I don't see any more questions, so feel free to jump off. And again, you will all receive this recording, and please stay in communication. Over communicating is the best course of action. And we wish you all good luck and looking forward to seeing you in Prague. Take
Thank
care,
you all for
everyone.
joining us. Have a lovely
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Bye.